I'd like to welcome everybody. Can everybody hear in the back? Perfect. My name is Diane Sawyer, and I'm the president of the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to welcome you to learn why to place your bet on Reidsville. And I'm going to turn it over to City Manager Summer Woodard.
Thank you so much. Thank all of you for taking the time out of your day to join us. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize some of our elected officials that have joined us. Mayor Donald Gorham, Councilmember Sherry Walker, and Councilmember Teresa Scoble. We are so excited to have you join us. Learn to Place Your Bet on Reidsville is a three-part series. The first event was held on May 18th and was focused on learning how to place your bet on Reidsville. Today is our second event in our series and will focus on why you should place your bet on Reidsville. This series is a joint partnership with the City of Reidsville, Reidsville Chamber of Commerce, Rockingham County, and Rockingham County Community College. I'd like to give a special thank you to everyone who's been working to put this series together. Judy Yarborough, Chris Phillips, Haywood Cloud, Mac Williams, Diane Sawyer, Eden Combs, Steve Scott, Randy Hunt, Jennifer Lester, Lee Cockrum, and her crew. I believe Miss Betsy's here. Welcome, Miss Betsy. And also Ruben Gonzalez. So thank you so much for your help. The goal of Learn to Place Your Bet on Reidsville is to connect business entrepreneurs, property owners, and financial advisors. Reidsville is growing, and we're expecting even more business growth. Today's event will feature two local business owners who have chosen to have their businesses and their homes here in Reidsville. They will be sharing reasons why they chose Reidsville to open their business and live here. In addition to our speakers, this event will also feature Jennifer Lester with Rockingham County Community College, and she will highlight all the resources that are available for citizens at RCC and the RCC Small Business Center. This event will also look at 5 reasons why you should choose Reidsville: the importance of geographical location, analytical data, business opportunities, partnerships, and our community will be highlighted. At this time, I would like to turn it back over to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce President, Ms. Diane Sawyer, who will serve as the moderator today. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to introduce our speakers. First, we have Eden Combs with Realty One Group and VP of Small Business and Industry for the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce. Next, Steve Scott, President of Tri-State Steel Products. Further on my left, we have Jennifer Lester with Rockingham Community College, Director of Corporate Education and Training, and VP of Governmental Affairs for the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce. And also Summer Woodard, our City Manager for the City of Reidsville. Today we will be discussing why Reidsville. We're excited to have Eden and Steve share their personal and their professional why. We are also delighted to have with us Jennifer and Summer to help share information about intentional workforce partnerships and how to navigate starting a business in Reidsville. Now we will kick it off with Eden Combs and her story.
Good morning. Thank you for being here today. So I wanted to start with, have you ever had a dream? Because I have. I have always believed in writing them down. A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. Now, while goals may often change and be revised as life takes away, I have never given up. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. As we all know, plans may change. But again, I have never given up. A plan backed by action becomes a reality. When we moved here in 2011, we got married at the Penthouse. We decided to lay our roots down in Reidsville. At that time, we became invested. It may have taken time becoming involved in the community, being involved in different fire departments, being involved in church, and just making those changes. I decided to put my roots in and all of my chips back in 2017 and became a real estate agent. The reason at that time that we moved here was because of the community, the schools, the involvement of the community, that small town feel, and the engagement, all of the outdoor activities that are housed here in Reidsville, and also housing expenses. I would say we started out with that dream, and it has quickly became a reality, which wouldn't be possible without intentionality and also engagement. Fast forward to 2023, and now we have 2 children, one of which is in the traditional Rockingham County school, and also one that is in a private school. We couldn't be happier with our decision. My oldest is at Bethany, and he's going through the Spanish immersion program. So if any of you know anything about Splash, they start out in kindergarten speaking only Spanish, and by 5th grade, they're completely bilingual. I can't imagine what that's going to do for our community as these children graduate and the diversity that it's going to bring. With that being said, Steve has a different experience than I do. We're at 2 different stages of life when it comes to children.
Yes, just so you know, that was Eden calling me old. It's okay, we roll like that, so I'll tolerate it from her. But I do have a much different phase to discuss when it's time.
So I'm going to turn it over to Steve to talk about some of his experiences.
So we moved here in 1988. My family started a business here. My wife and I settled here. We've raised our children here. We're very proud that they are Reidsville Rams. One of them is in Philadelphia in healthcare. The other is in Wilmington in vet medicine. They're both Reidsville High IB students. One of the things that makes me most proud of this community is that we can address issues. We know that there are issues. We understand that to grow like some are discussed, we have to find solutions to issues. As you heard Eden say, she has 2 kids in 2 completely different schools. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly okay for your kid to go through the IB program at Reidsville High School. It's also perfectly okay here for your kid to go through the machining program at Reidsville High School, which Tri-State Steel, our company, had a big influence on helping to create. The opportunities for success here are not only available to you as a business owner, and Eden mentioned the word intentionality, but with intentionality, there's an unlimited opportunity for your children to succeed as well. The other thing that Eden mentioned that makes me really proud about this community is diversity. I was 8 years ago or so on a trip to New York City with the Reidsville Band, and I was lucky enough to go with some kids to the World Trade Center. And I happened to be sitting there, and it was while they were building the new honorary area and the reflecting pool where the water goes down into the thing. And there were 4 kids in front of me, all from Reidsville High School, and who actually had gone through South End Elementary, Reidsville Middle School, and Reidsville High together. They were truly great friends. One was my daughter. The other was a young black man. The other was a young man from Puerto Rico. And the other was a young man from India. Yet they were all from Reidsville. And none of them considered themselves anything but from Reidsville. And not only were they from Reidsville, they were Reidsville High School kids. They were all exceptional in their own way. One was a great baseball player. The other was a great musician. Really, really cool diversity. They were standing there with their arms around each other, just being kids. And somebody, perfect stranger, walked by as I was getting ready to take a picture and said, "Are those your kids?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's what America is." it was a pretty cool moment. And I thought to myself as I was walking away, that's what Reidsville is. One of the great advantages that my children had when they went off to Appalachian State and the University of Tennessee was that they never had to judge people by the color of their skin. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, because they were raised in this community, they were able to understand that you truly should judge people by the content of their character. And my kids had that opportunity growing up here that, quite frankly, I did not have where I grew up. There wasn't the diversity. There wasn't the inclusiveness. And so I think that's one of the things that makes me most proud about living here and raising my children here, is that opportunity. One of the other things that I think Eden talked about was the opportunity to put your chips all in business. Certainly Eden has done that. Certainly I have done that as well. And it hasn't always been easy. And I know Eden's going to talk about some things coming up here in just a second. I'll turn it back over to her. But doing things in any community takes effort, and it also takes an immense amount of intentionality. And I don't want that to be lost on any prospective people in this community who want to do something. So let's talk about some of the other things that we know we need to discuss.
So one of the other things was we also have the early college. So there's several other opportunities as well when it comes to schools. So we feel like that's a huge advantage here in Reidsville. Next, we wanted to talk about community. And I'm going to let Steve talk a little bit about J.C. Park. I also wanted to mention the splash pad that will be coming next year. So that's wonderful. That's going to be great for our community as well. The all-inclusive park, which is phenomenal. If you haven't driven by there, it's beautiful. You need to drive by there and see it. But we are one of the few locations that do have an all-inclusive park, and we can say that proudly now. The streetscape that's taken place that is looking amazing. I know it didn't come easy. It was a lot of headaches, some frustration among some of the business owners, but it is absolutely phenomenal. We did not lose any parking, and I think it's amazing when people can just drive through, and it's beautiful.
And Eden, if I could interject, just make that announcement the city put out this week that it is complete. So the streetscape project is finished, and we are so excited about that.
And also wanted to mention Market Square. If you don't take advantage or haven't taken advantage of some of the events, the concerts, things that go on down there, it's completely free to you, the public. We can take advantage of that at no cost to us. So there's always something that you can do here in Reidsville for families.
Yeah, it's funny that Eden brought that last point up, because one of the things that I hear, of course, on social media, right, is there's nothing to do here. And I just laugh. Eden just laughed. I just laugh at that, and I'm like, are you even looking? Like tonight, for example, J.C. Park, the Reidsville Luckies are here. They're playing baseball. It costs $8 to get in. Your kids get to have a wild and crazy time running around the baseball field. Mount Jubilee Ministries and their heroes are there welcoming you to the community. You literally get to see high-end college baseball players playing wood bat baseball, giving it their all for our community, wearing a jersey that says Reidsville Luckies, which is part of our history, for $8. The Kona Ice people are there. The Boardwalk Baker is there. The concession stand is open. None of that would be possible if it weren't for Summer and her team at the City of Reidsville going to bat, literally, putting their chips in, literally, to say, hey, we're going to have things for families to do here, and not just do, but do reasonably. Do financially in a way that you don't have to go spend $150 at night to go see quality baseball, for example. Eden mentioned the splash pad that will be, I believe Haywood told me, summer of 2024. We have the all-inclusive park that's going to be open. So if you start in North Reidsville and you drive straight down Scale Street, just one road, you get to go from the all-inclusive park to Market Square to J.C. Park to Lake Reidsville. There is a plethora of things to do. I don't know how many of you camp or kayak or paddleboard, but we do. And we can go out to Lake Reidsville on any given day and paddleboard for nothing. It costs me nothing to spend hours on the water. You can go camping, and I think our campgrounds are some of the cheapest campgrounds within like 40 miles from here. People come to Reidsville from all over to use Lake Reidsville, the hiking trails, the mountain biking trails, the disc golf, and people forget that it's here, in part because we don't always do a great job of talking about it. But to have somebody who wants to be in real estate, like Miss McCullum, like Eden, to be able to sell houses, you have to have infrastructure that people want to come to. And being able to do so economically is a real plus. My employees need to be able to entertain their families. They need to be able to do things. And Reidsville is really working hard to make sure that we have all those advantages. And it's something that takes, again, I'm going to keep hammering this word, it takes intentionality. It doesn't happen by accident.
Steve, to your point, I would say that when I first moved here, all of those things were not in place, so that wasn't always true, but it is true today.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting better.
It's one of the things that Eden and I talk about all the time. We like to joke with each other. We have a really good friendship, but we call ourselves imports. Neither of us are from Reidsville, yet we've decided to make Reidsville our home. And so I think we kind of maybe have a different perspective than people who've lived here their whole lives when we look at it and say, you know, this is a really great place to raise a family.
I think that it's funny that you say that because intentionality, engagement, and outsider, you can be from a different place in the county and still think and see things differently, which was what my perspective was. And so coming from a different high school and from a different city in the county and then coming to Reidsville, and it's like eye-opening, all the things that, and like you said, even when I started in the chamber 12 years ago, some of these things were in place, but some of them were not. In the city and the chamber and the community college and our business owners and the folks that are sitting here today, you all are the reason that a lot of these things are happening. And we have to continue to encourage this engagement and this involvement because that is the point of what we're trying to hit home with this series. You have to be engaged and find these things and learn about these things. We need all of you to leave here today and go out and be ambassadors for this information. So.
I think that's a great point. The young man who's the coach of the Reidsville Luckies is from Tampa, Florida. He was a college baseball player. He now coaches at Guilford College. His dad was here last weekend or the weekend before, and I got a chance to meet him just by happenstance. And I said, how are you enjoying it? And he said, this community is so supportive. And I think that's something that sometimes is lost on. I hear it all the time from people. Everyone here is so supportive. And I tell Summer all the time, I said, if you want to accomplish something in Reidsville, challenge this community's pride. You will never get away with that. This is a very, very, and I don't mean pride in a negative way. I mean, hey, you raised the bar on us. We're going to do it. We're going to find a way. And so that's why I think it's such an exciting time to be in Reidsville. Like Eden said, the Reidsville from 10 years ago and the Reidsville today, they're vastly different. I can't imagine what Reidsville 10 years from now is going to look like.
Exactly. And I think you all made the point with real estate. So I think Eden was going to talk about housing and some of our issues with that.
So housing, and there's some other realtors here that can hopefully attest to this as well, is a need in Reidsville. So if you're a landowner, if you are an investor, we would love to partner you up. We can definitely bring all the businesses in, but we still need a place for those people to go. Even down to townhomes and apartments, we need other places for you to go. So we're hoping that through this series, it does open up some of these possibilities and ideas, and it does bring people together that can make a difference here in Reidsville.
Yeah, I personally have 3 employees who don't live here who would like to. they can't find someplace to live. That's a problem. But part of the reason for that, and Eden can speak better to this than I can, is, and I know Summer's addressing a lot of this stuff, is infrastructure. You have to have sewer, you have to have water, you have to have land. Well, we have all those things, but sometimes they don't meet at the exact same point. And that can be a challenge sometimes. So I know that we have a need for housing. There's no question about it. But we also have to work together to create the opportunity to build the houses.
Correct. And I've talked with Summer a little bit about some of the challenges that I've personally faced as a realtor and issues that I've seen with things like the water and the sewer, the infrastructure. And so I know that the city is doing what they can to look at those things. It just takes time.
Sumner, would you like to say anything about that, just to kind of?
I think that's a good segue. Our mayor and city council they actually just approved our budget Tuesday night. And in this budget, it included two really comparable things for us to start looking at. We actually, council and mayor thought it was important to go ahead and act on that. And the first is starting a comprehensive improvement plan for our public works. And this plan actually will look at the next 5-10 years for the city of Reidsville and address some of our water and sewer infrastructure needs. So as we're preparing and seeing this growth now, we are ensuring that we have the correct capacity to serve homes that are being built, to serve businesses. So that is a very proactive approach. Okay. The second thing that this budget did look at that we're really excited to roll out is with community development and looking at our unified development ordinance. And speaking to Eden's point, some of our ordinances, we had not done a quick overhaul of those since 1988. So some of those ordinances specifically to residential housing had very large setback requirements, street requirements, widths. So with the Unified Development Ordinance that we're looking at in this study, it will bring our codes current and up to date to be able to meet the needs of our community.
And as a business owner, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. In the last 3 years, our company has grown astronomically. To the point that it's almost hyper growth and it's very hard to manage. We literally were out of space. And during that time, I actually had a chance to speak with Ruben Gonzalez, who was very helpful in helping me understand some things about growth and how different things can work in a small community and where there are resources for help. Unfortunately, we just weren't able to find the right place. And I think we looked for 2 solid years and we found land that didn't have sewer, and we found sewer places that didn't have buildable land, and it was really, really frustrating as a business owner. You know, I'm not just up here to say the good things about growth. Growth comes with challenges, and I think the city is one of the reasons we're having this conversation is because we realize that there are challenges. So when we needed to grow our business, we were really fortunate that our business was growing so large because of efforts by economic development to bring in companies from all over the world. Summer will touch more on this, I'm sure, later, but there are literally companies from Reidsville from all over the world. And they're growing, and they need our products. And we needed to grow. And we really struggled. And we finally were able to find a place to grow. And I went to Summer and I said, hey, I need your help. I don't need money. I don't need any special care. I just need to cut through the red tape of bureaucracy to help me grow. And I know Josh is here and Chris is here and Haywood's here. All of those people, with Summer's help, came together to help Tri-State Steel grow. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. But it did take, back to my favorite word of the day, it took a great deal of intentionality on our part to recognize that we needed help and how to get it and who to get it from. And I do think that business climate here, from whether you're an international company or a local like us, large mom and pop company, it's golden opportunity. I will tell you that my biggest concern is human capital. We don't have enough people to hire. 3 years ago or so, I can't remember the exact date, our community, the City of Reidsville and Rockingham County, did push our chips all in. We recognized this a long time ago that this was coming. And we passed a tax that was controversial, that was involved with sales tax, to support Rockingham Community College. And I know Jennifer's gonna educate us all a lot on that. But this idea of pushing your chips all in on Reidsville, I think it's really important to understand that this community is pushing their chips. It's not we're going to push our chips. It is we have parks, we have recreation, we have brought baseball teams, we have building a super workforce development center. We're working on the UDI and whatever those fancy words are that bureaucrats talk about, to make it possible for companies like Tri-State Steel to grow, make it possible for real estate agents to sell houses, make it possible for employees to buy houses and no longer have to rent, for example. So I think that this idea of chips all in is a really perfectly executed one, because that's really what we are doing. And it's what we've done as business owners.
Summer, would you like to say anything else? Excuse me.
Again, one of the main things that we want to get out of this series is just to express partnerships and the value of partnerships. And just like Steve alluded to earlier, you as business owners or potential business owners, you may be experiencing some roadblocks that we as a city or a community may not be aware of. It may be the location of utilities. It may be anything about frontage of a building you're wanting to look at. But let us know those items. Please reach out to the city, and we'll talk a little bit more about avenues to do so. But let us know where you're hitting that roadblock, and let us help you to see what we can do to get you around the roadblock that you're experiencing.
And I can speak to that as I did just a little while ago. That's not just verbiage from City Hall. I know that any bureaucracy gets hammered over the head for being slow-moving, but bureaucracies are supposed to be slow-moving. But I will tell you, my personal experience is when you go to the people who work for the City of Reidsville and you have a plan and you have a purpose and you are prepared, they respond.
I think that's a,
sorry.
Diane. I think that's a good point, Steve, because I've always been, to me, if you want to see change, be a part of that change. So if you have an issue, don't yak about the issue. Go to the people that can help you, because you're not going to see change unless you're there, you're being involved, you're being intentional, engaged. So if you want to see change, I know personally that they're willing to listen. You just have to have a plan and help. Bring that to attention.
I think it's
we don't
really,
know what we don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's really, really important to understand as a business person, you have to be proactive, not reactive. Mm-hmm. Don't go running down the street with a business proposal, get halfway done building your building, and then say, oh, you mean I wasn't allowed to do this here? It's too late. And that's where anger and frustration and discontent come from. If you're willing to have the conversations on the front end, boy, the process becomes way easier. We bought a building and it was in disrepair, and in 60 days it was open for business. That's not kudos to the folks at Tri-State Steel, although they worked their tails off to do it. A lot of that has to do with the city helping us be ready ahead of time instead of chasing from behind.
And I think some of these things that Steve is bringing up, also, as businesses are moving in, the city recognizes that the processes aren't always so clear. So I know, again, Summer and her team, they're working really hard to condense those processes and make it a little more clear on X, Y, and Z, and here's what you need to do. So making the steps a little simpler for those in the public. So I think that takes us into kind of our next topic, which is going to be diversity.
Yeah, and I really talked about that throughout this conversation already. And I don't have a ton more to say about it, but I will say this. It is absolutely one of the things that I'm most proud of this community about. It is genuine friendship with Mayor Gorham, right? We see each other all the time out in the street, and we couldn't be more different. He's a former principal at a school system, and I'm a business guy, and we come from wildly different historical perspectives, right? In every situation in our life. But there's nobody I'd rather sit and have lunch with, which I just did, and why y'all were delayed starting, because I was talking to him, so.
And also in our industries, so there's many industries, and I'll let Summer touch on some of those that are here in Reidsville that bring a lot of diversity to our culture as well.
Thank you. And as we've alluded to with diversity, we are such a huge melting pot here in Reidsville. I mean, we have countries right now, and we'll talk a little bit more in our presentation, but we have countries from China, Australia, Belgium, you name it. We are a melting pot, and not only are we getting recognition as a place to have a business on a local, regional, national, but international scale.
Yes, and we see a lot of diversity in our workforce too, which we are going to talk about as we pass that on. And I also think to Steve's point, he was not shy about the fact that he was frustrated, and he was not shy about the fact that it took him 2 years plus to grow and to figure it out. And there were a lot of us having those conversations. And we were having those conversations at the chamber. We were having them amongst our board. We were having them with the city and with the council. So I think the point here is that the chamber is here as a resource. The community college is here as a resource. The city, Summer, the council, we have the most progressive council. They have continued to listen and hear and be active and have session after session. I can't tell you how many times I go home at 8:30 or 8 o'clock or whatever time it is, and they're still going into a closed session to spend another hour to talk about things to make our city better. They have multiple things that they're doing. In Summer, I think we drove home the point in the last session, and I know we have a lot of new folks today, but the UDO and how that's going to affect. Would you like to just touch on that for just a second?
Sure, and again, as we were stating earlier, it goes back to Steve's point. I know sometimes when we're in a business, we get used to language jargon. So the Unified Development Ordinance, otherwise known as a UDO, again, is basically your map, your guide to residential commercial businesses that takes care of building inspections, lot size, what buildings or residence type homes you can have in certain zoning districts. And again, just realizing that we had not looked at that since 1988 as a whole. You know, every year we would look at it individually, but being able to sit down, stop, and reflect, I think speaks volumes for our council to say, we're moving, we're progressing. What other tools can we provide to our business community and our residents so they're not hitting these roadblocks with some of the new creative construction ideas that we're seeing? Tiny homes, food trucks, those are new things that, you know, we in 88, the 90s, you're not dealing with. So just that ability to be proactive with the updating of the UDO, I think will be a great guide for all of us in this room and our community for the next 10 years.
Absolutely. Eden and Steve, do you have anything else that you'd like to say today?
I think the last thing I would like to say is also, thank you to you, Diane, because as many times as I call on her, she still doesn't send me to voicemail. And that's a lot I call on her. But you can also always call just, the chamber number. Stars a beautiful face and welcoming voice. If they don't know who to go to, they will get you answers on who to go to. So I will say that for the chamber, and thank you for you and your team as well.
Yeah, I would second that as well. As we were growing, we ran out of office space, for example, and the chamber made an office available to us. They're problem solvers, and And they're the ones who are the most connected to everyone, to the business, to the city hall, to the downtown, to everyone. And but I think it always comes back to proactive communication. If you want to be successful in business, whether it's in Reidsville, whether it's in Greensboro, whether it's in Tampa, Florida, you have got to be proactive with communication and intentional in your engagement in the community. And if you are willing to do that here in Reidsville, you're going to be successful. I have no doubt about that.
So the last thing I just want to say is, so I've seen where 10 years has come. So 10 years ago to 10 years now, and I've seen where we started at and where we are. Don't wait for the next 10 years to put your chips in.
Absolutely, Eden. And I would just say thank you all for what you said, but we have a really great group of ambassadors, a great group of board of directors, who some of them are here with us today, and then an amazing staff. And Debbie and Star and Denise, I really count on them. But I tell people all the time, we're like the human 411. If we don't know the answer, we know who to call to try to figure it out. And a lot of times that means calling Chris or Judy or Haywood or Summer or whoever it might be, but we're gonna figure it out. And I cannot say enough about being proactive and being engaged. And I'm looking at a lot of faces who have done that from the minute they open their business. And I appreciate you all, because you're what makes us stronger as a community. I think it's a great segue. We're going to just say thank you so much to Eden and Steve for their stories, for their personal why, their professional why, for having a business here in Reidsville. We're so thankful. And this is a great segue to talk about those intentional workforce partnerships and our commitment to our comprehensive support of business and industry. So Jennifer Lester, take it away, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Always love to hear more about your story and why you're here. And it is a good reminder of all the things that we're doing here in our community. As Diane mentioned, I work for Rockingham Community College. I work with corporate education and training, which means I have the honor of working with business and industry on a daily basis. And Rockingham Community College is honored to partner with business and industry and our community organizations to intentionally and positively influence workforce development in our county. And I did make notes because I thought I'd get up here and get nervous and I'd forget what I wanted to tell you, so forgive me for my notes. So as we talk about why Reidsville today and encourage you to place your bets on Reidsville, I wanted to briefly share with you today how RCC can serve business and industry, a few of the ways that our community has supported RCC to partner with business and industry, and then efforts in Reidsville and across the county to intentionally collaborate on workforce development. So as you may or may not know, RCC is considered a Tier 1 county. This is an economic designation that refers to economic well-being, but I like to think that it just means we have greater economic opportunity, right? So for example, there are funding opportunities that are available to us in a variety of different ways because we're a Tier 1 county, and they're not necessarily going to be here when that tier increases. And because of this, and despite this, our community and RCC believe in the necessity to train at an elevated level, right? We need to provide opportunities for our community to train for high wage, high skill, and high demand jobs. And to do this on equipment that is what they're going to see in industry. So to do this, we continue to build state-of-the-art facilities and bring in state-of-the-art equipment that students are going to see when they go to work. We are extremely fortunate, and we're very thankful to the state for the support that we get at a state level, but more importantly, the support we get at a county level. That's very important to us, and we appreciate it greatly. So just a couple examples of how we do this. So several years ago, through donations from the community and some additional funding as well, we were able to renovate a space to create a state-of-the-art simulated hospital. This hospital has equipment that's been donated in some cases from business and industry, and in other cases, it was purchased from advice from business and industry. This equipment allows students to learn in an environment that mimics a hospital or mimics a healthcare setting before they actually get to that healthcare setting and they're working on real patients, right? That's important. These simulated patients can mimic heart attacks, strokes, breathing issues, giving birth, drawing blood, and so much more. In some cases, they can speak to our students. For example, we have one that can be programmed to say, "You're hurting me," if they're working on them and then they're being too rough. In the simulated hospital, there are OR setups for our surgical tech program. There's an emergency department, a nursing department, a respiratory lab, and so much more. And we partner with local agencies to create simulation experiences for the students to aid in that preparation. So just an example, recently RCC has partnered with the county EMS program to run an EMS academy to provide incentive and opportunity for our students. Another example in the last few years is due to state funding and support at the state level, we were able to create a cybersecurity lab at RCC with high-level equipment and simulation experiences in a variety of cybersecurity scenarios. Most recently, thanks to amazing generosity from our students and hard work on behalf of our community partners, we're currently building a Center for Workforce Development, and I'm really excited about this space. It's scheduled to be finished spring 2024 at the moment. In addition to this, we're also renovating a space to create a welding and fabrication lab, which we already have. We have great programs and we have great spaces, but this allows us to take everything to the next level. This building is scheduled to be completed fall 2023 as well. The Center for Workforce Development will bring together the Corporate Education and Training Division, of which I'm a part, and Randy Hunt's a part, and I'll introduce him to you in a minute, but also programs like machining, mechatronics, electrical systems, and a large conference space that the community can reserve as well to use. And so, whereas we already have really great programs at RCC that we're really proud of, spaces like these, like our welding fabrication building, like our Center for Workforce Development, the SIM Hospital, the Cybersecurity Lab, provide additional opportunities for both curriculum and non-credit students to be trained at a high level. And we believe it also allows RCC to attract very talented faculty because what we're able to do in our spaces. So we do all of this, and we're able to plan all of these things through advice and direction from our business and industry and our community partners. Every program of study we have on our campus has something that we call a program advisory committee. And that's made up of, obviously, faculty and staff in those program areas, but also business and industry representatives and community partners who are willing to give their time and help ensure that our programs are the best that they can be and that we're training for the needs that you actually have, right? So if you are interested and you're willing to serve on a program advisory committee, we would love to have you. Just come talk to us, come talk to Randy, come talk to myself, and we'd love to have you on a committee. We also offer services directly to business and industry, and that's a lot of what we do. So for example, we offer something that's called the NC Edge Customized Training Program. And this program is often offered for free to eligible business and industry. Now there are some caveats on who's an eligible business. And this allows us to offer training specifically that meets the needs of a company. And depending on the number of students a company has, we might be able to offer it at the company or specifically just for that company. We also work with companies to set up apprenticeship opportunities and work-based learning opportunities. We can discuss boot camp type pre-employment projects and so much more. We also offer a small business center at RCC, and I don't know as you're traveling around the county if you've seen the billboards of Randy's face or not, but if you're going between Eden and Reidsville, I know there's one on 14, so check him out. But the Small Business Center offers classes, business counseling, resources, all for free to our clients. And it also offers a space and a conference room that small businesses can reserve to use to come in and hold meetings or do work that maybe you need to do in a different location. The Small Business Center also was able to help provide information today and data, as well as bring with us our special guest, Ruben Gonzalez, who is a small business consultant and who is an SBC contractor and works with us on several different opportunities. So I want to take a minute and just introduce to you Mr. Gonzalez and have him stand if you don't mind. He is a great resource, just incredibly knowledgeable, an amazing small business consultant. So I encourage you to talk to him while he's here today. He'll be here for questions at the end. So if there's anybody in this room who is considering placing your bet on Reidsville now, I'd encourage you to reach out to Randy Hunt, our director of the Small Business Center at RCC. Randy is ready, willing, and able to help you, whether you're currently in business or you're thinking about starting a business. So I'd like to ask Randy to stand as well so you know who he is. So, I'm also told that if a company would like to place a piece of equipment and be trained, have people trained on that piece of equipment, that's something that we can help you with, or train on our equipment if that's a need. But with all of this, we believe in intentional partnerships in our community are incredibly important. We can't work in a silo and expect to make a difference, and I think that's already been said as well. I just want to reiterate that. We believe a community that intentionally works together to move these efforts will see success, and there is currently just amazing work happening all over our county through our cities and municipalities, through economic development, small business, and tourism, and the many wonderful county services that are offered. Through Chambers of Commerce, NC Works, and the Piedmont Triad Regional Workforce Development Board, partners like Vocational Rehabilitation, our employers, our county HR group, association group, our schools, our college, and all of the workforce partners in our community. One example of this includes our workforce committee through the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce. That is made up of membership from the school system, the college. Diane is on that committee. We have somebody from Economic Development, Workforce Unlimited, Vocational Rehabilitation, Barefoot PAL Agency, and Alcorn's Custom Woodworking. So it's a conglomeration of employers, of resources, lots of great people together. This event that you're experiencing right now is another great example of an intentional partnership between the Chamber, the City of Reidsville, Rockingham Community College, Rockingham County, Tri-State Steel, and Realty One. When we intentionally come together, workforce partners and businesses and industry alike, we can close the gap in our workforce. And this intentional partnership is really not seen in a lot of places, not a lot of counties, not a lot of states. This is something that makes Rockingham County special, and it's a wonderful reason to place your bet here. Recently, I was in a training that we did. It was a poverty simulation, and one of the quotes that really stuck with me in that training said, "I wish there were less programs and more people to walk alongside me." RCC is so thankful, and we are excited to be among those partners in the community that are intentionally coming together to create a comprehensive web of support to walk alongside business and industry, but also to walk alongside the workforce going into those businesses and industry. So if you're looking to place your bet on Reidsville, I encourage you to consider the intentionality of our partnerships and our services offered throughout the community. Thank you.
So I have a really quick story, and I'll be super brief about it. But I have an employee whose husband is who wanted to start a business. He wanted to start an LLC. He's fully employed by the City of Reidsville, but does a ton of work outside of that, and didn't know how to start a business. So I said to my employee, let me make a phone call. And I called Jennifer because to me, this is RCC. This is the person I go to every time. And I said, hey, Jennifer, I really need Randy to come meet with one of my employees because they want to start an LLC and they don't know how. And it's better to not come from their employer. It's better to come from somebody outside of our company. Within 2 days, Randy was in our office meeting with that family, and they already have their LLC established, and it is now a business in Rockingham County. That literally happened in like 3 weeks. It's a real thing. What they're doing is a real thing, and I felt like they both deserved a shout out about that from a real experience of a business owner who wanted to have that intentionality of connection. So if you need them, they actually come, which is great.
Yep, that's awesome. And I think that goes back to what the quote that Jennifer said. That quote couldn't describe Reidsville and what we're doing here any better than what you said, because it's about the people. And I tell people every day, the Chamber of Commerce is about relationships, and it's about building relationships and being intentional about it, which is what we are doing as we partner with the city and partner with the college. So I think that is a great segue. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And we are going to talk about the 5 reasons that you should place your bet on Reidsville. So I'm going to turn it over to City Manager Summer Woodard for a quick presentation.
Okay, everybody stand up. We're in the 7th inning stretch, so what does that mean? We're almost wrapping up. This is what you've been waiting for, so stretch, maybe 5-10 seconds. I know it's been a wonderful engagement with stories and resources, but now you want to learn what those opportunities are. So if I can capture your attention just for a few more moments, who in here is a sports fan? Raise your hand. Okay. Somebody shout me out, what is key? What do you want to know? What is a key guide for any sports team? What do they have to have? Teamwork. What else? Mascot. I love that.
Communication.
A captain, a coach, players.
Players. Who said a plan? Bingo. So that is our goal today with this presentation is we want to invite you to think about the City of Reidsville's logo. Live simply, but think big. And I want to show you what that guidebook looks like. We want to take you and show you 5 reasons why you should hedge your bet on Reidsville. Are we ready? Yep. Okay, let's go. Reason number 1, geographical location. The conversion of US 29 to Interstate 785 is a critical infrastructure upgrade that will benefit the City of Reidsville, including growth in industrial, commercial, retail, and residential development. The most important part of I-785 is its connectivity to I-840 in Greensboro's Northern Beltway, which opened this year. Raise your hand if you've been on that. Mm-hmm. How nice is that? I mean, it is, boom, we're in Greensboro. That works to our advantage. It ties directly into the Piedmont Triad International Airport, and its relation to I-785 will place Reidsville as a legit submarket for suppliers of our growing aviation needs. Also, our close proximity to Caesars Casino in Danville, Virginia, and to the metropolitan area of Greensboro makes Reidsville a very lucrative business opportunity. And on our next slide, you'll see our map. I know slides don't go good with the map, but we have a large map in the back. And this map depicts the future I-785 project. This map demonstrates key corridors that Reidsville is surrounded by, and these are huge growth factors. Because of our close proximity to Greensboro, Burlington, Danville, people are choosing to live and work in Reidsville. We're affordable. We're an affordable option for housing and for businesses. Reason number 1, we good on that one? Reason number 2, our favorite, and I won't bog us down too much, analytical data. The Rockingham Community College Small Business Center, who we introduced earlier, has been a great partner in providing a lot of the analytical data we'll be discussing today. They also sponsored our special guest, Ruben Gonzalez, who, if you have questions or want additional information, I believe they've got some handouts, him and Mr. Hunt do at the back of the room, and they'll be glad to take a deeper dive with you into the highlights of this data. So take advantage of the resources that RCC has supplied us today. So why is data important? Data drives business decisions. The city doesn't decide what business is open in our community, and oftentimes the city is not aware of a business until they pull permits. So a lot of times in the community we'll hear, well, it's such and such opening. We don't know until we can look if there's permits pulled. Our existing businesses do an exceptional job utilizing analytical data to provide services to our community. Local businesses, and I really want to emphasize this, are vital anchors, and they're the backbone to our community. And that's what we're here today, is to help you capture some growth opportunities. Franchises also use analytical data to determine what consumer market meets their business plan. Geographical location, number of homes, and remember, number of homes, what's the old saying? Businesses follow rooftops. Average household income, age and gender of population, workforce and educational background are just a few demographics used in analytical data. So, Reidsville has witnessed the influence of analytical data just in the last 6 months with the opening of some great franchises that have chosen our market: Starbucks, Cookout, Jersey Mike's. Reidsville is a market businesses are interested in and they're willing to invest in. However, this is where we need your help. In addition to data, it takes our entire community, every one of us in this room and throughout our community, working together. We have to promote, invest, and capitalize on all of the positive and unique opportunities that our city offers. Great things are done by a series of small things brought together. We all here in this room, when are we getting a Chick-fil-A? When are we getting a Cracker Barrel? I heard Zaxby's is going by Elizabeth's Pizza. We have to take in these businesses, like so many others, use analytical data. Geographical location is key for a Cracker Barrel to open. Cracker Barrel will only open a business if it's on an interstate. And what do we have coming? There's a business opportunity. Anyone in this room looking to franchising? Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A receives over 20,000 franchise applications a year. Anywhere from 75 to 80 are all that's approved. So we have to showcase and invest in ourselves. That is how we grow as a city and can stand to gain some additional business opportunities. So now let's take just a couple minutes to dive a little bit deeper and look at specific data for Reidsville. The City of Reidsville is an accredited North Carolina Main Street program as well as Main Street America. The North Carolina Main Street program is a program under the NC Department of Commerce. And the information in the next few slides is from NC Commerce Main Street program. The NC Main Street Rural Planning Center compiled a report on downtown Reidsville retail to give a baseline of information for a better understanding of our current market. The NC Main Street and Rural Planning staff studied the retail market data within a 5-mile and a 20-minute drive to our downtown area. The retail leakage analysis examines the quantitative aspects of retail opportunities. So Summer, when you say what is retail gap and leakage? It's when consumers spend their dollars outside a specific radius of downtown Reidsville. This is what's known as retail gap and leakage. It indicates an unmet demand in a trade area. So consumers are leaving Reidsville to fulfill service demands that they have. This data suggests the possibility that our community can support additional retail for those business categories. Residents within the specified primary trade areas are purchasing products outside our area. We should look at these opportunities and invest in these where we're losing business to look at our community. So this is an interesting slide, and this is from the North Carolina Main Street Rural Planning Center. It's from the U.S. Census on a map. So based on this information, I'd like to draw your attention to 5,542 workers commute into Reidsville. Of that, 1,195 live in Reidsville and work in Reidsville. So the total daytime worker population for Reidsville is 6,737 people. Reidsville is a net importer of jobs as opposed to exporter of jobs. This means we have greater opportunities to provide services to the 5,000 people and workers that commute into our city every day. So let's capitalize on that. Good on reason number 2. Okay, reason number 3, business opportunities. Get your notepads out. This is what you want to know. This report identifies Reidsville as having retail gaps and leakage in the following areas: home furnishings, electronics, specialty foods and beer, women's and children's clothing, luggage, leather goods, sporting goods, bookstores, and drinking places. All showed gaps in the 5-mile and 20-minute drive radius. At the 20-minute drive alone, gaps were saw in the need for jewelry, hobby, toy and game stores, gift, novelty, and souvenir stores, and full-town service restaurant. The retail gaps and leakage listed above reflect some business opportunities for our community to take advantage of. Other business gaps: hotel and lodging opportunities. As a result of Caesars Casino opening in Danville, there are some other business opportunities for hotels to develop in our area. Or if you're wanting to look at a bed and breakfast, we have some great businesses already, but there is also a need for more. Hospitality and tourism-based businesses, that's a need as well. Let's make Reidsville a destination. Also, residential housing, as you've heard Eden speak about. As Reidsville grows, so does our need for housing. We also have needs for trade-based businesses. When you call a plumber or electrician, how many weeks do they can get to you?
It's awful.
We need those. So utilize, if you know someone that's looking to start a different business opportunity, use the resources at RCC and take advantage of those service needs. There's endless possibilities that we could have. Good on reason number 3. We're getting there, 2 more. Reason number 4, partnerships. Reidsville offers unique opportunities for businesses to engage in partnerships. What we did when we were having lunch, networking. Networking is key to building relationships. We offer numerous volunteer opportunities through civic groups, nonprofit groups. Get out there and leverage the power of partnerships, because the goal of this series is to connect each of you and our businesses. Business entrepreneurs being connected to property owners, to financial investors, connecting you. Leverage this partnership. This series came about from partnerships between the City of Reidsville, Rockingham County, Reidsville Chamber of Commerce, and Rockingham Community College. Our organizations are committed, and we're working together to look at the needs you have as a business community. And remember, we're here to help. The City of Reidsville, we're committed to being business-friendly and customer service-oriented. We are constantly evaluating existing procedures and processes to ensure we're meeting the needs of our citizens and our business community. One of the items we identified as a need is for a step-by-step guide scenario for opening a business. And you can get this at the back when you walk in. So this is, and I have to give a shout out and plug, if you're in community development, will you please stand for just a second? This department, by the leadership of our Assistant City Manager Haywood Cloud, they have taken the ball and ran on this. They have put together for us, and it will be on our website, for each of us to look at and have a guide to what steps we need to take if we're looking to develop a vacant piece of land, opening a business in an existing building we don't own, opening a business in an existing building you do own, or opening a home occupation. It is a step-by-step guide of what you need to do in a checklist when you're looking at those opportunities. As Steve said earlier, the most important thing to remember with all these scenarios is to contact the City of Reidsville first. Before you purchase, lease, or open a building, check with us. We need to check zoning compliance, permitted uses, available utilities, registration, and required permits, because we want to help you open that business. We don't want to be that roadblock that has to come in and say, there's no utilities there. You're not zoned to have that business there. Utilize our services because we are here to help. Reason number 5, community. Team Reidsville isn't just a phrase. It personifies love and pride we have for our community. We have, as we alluded to earlier, our international flair. We have 7 international commercial industries here. They're from Israel, Australia, Italy, China, Belgium, Japan. They have all chosen to be part of Team Reidsville. We're also home to a variety of family-friendly events. We talked a little bit about those earlier, but I'm going to give one more plug so we can all go out in our community and say, remember what's going on this weekend or tonight. The RDC and the Downtown Merchants host the first Friday night block party. Those are from May through August, and this event offers shopping, dining, and family activities. The RDC also hosts the annual Food, Art, and Brew Festival, which is our Fab Festival in October. And then the City of Reidsville hosts our annual summer concert series. The event features a variety of artists and genres of music. We have the Reidsville Showcase that offers nationally recognized artists. As Steve and Eden said earlier, Lake Reidsville offers camping, hiking, biking, festivals. If you've never went to our Lantern Festival, check that out. We had 3,000 people there a couple months ago from all over, loving our outdoor appeal. Market Square is home to our local farmers market that's open May through October. And then we're also the city, with the guidance of our mayor and city council and our city marketer, are looking at opening an additional venue at our penthouse that can hold up to 400 people, to be able to have conferences here, to be able to engage people to come here and engage in our community through that facility. And then I would be remiss if I didn't say we're community driven by determination, and we will succeed. Just look at our football program. We are, what are we? The home of
Reidsville Rams.
With how many state championships? Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
22.
Not only do we have all these great opportunities, but our community is making headlines in a variety of publications. And I'm only going to take 3 more minutes of your time, and 2 of those minutes is going to be to give you a glimpse into us making headlines because of the event each of you are participating in today.
Casino in 2 miles to the southwest in Reidsville, Rockingham County said they could not be happier.
And tonight, you're lucky to report Bob shows those white city leaders in Reidsville, being just 20 minutes southwest of the casino is the card they always want.
Learn how to place your bet on Reidsville because the time is now.
The Lucky City is feeling fortunate once again. 30 years ago, much of Reidsville went up in smoke when the Lucky Strike plant closed. You grew up here.
Yes,
This
sir.
is not the same place you grew up in.
Like a lot of small southern towns, manufacturing, tobacco, textiles, those things are never coming back like they were.
But Reidsville has some advantages you can't buy.
That is what's really unique about the city of Reidsville is our close proximity to Greensboro, to Danville, but also with Interstate 840, we're only now 20 minutes from Greensboro Airport.
When it comes to economic development, the real jackpot is the new casino that just opened in Danville, Virginia.
All roads lead to Danville, a lot of them lead through Reidsville.
When you heard about the casino, you must have thought, here's an opportunity for us
Absolutely.
So this is kind of Main Street, so to speak, for Reidsville. Take a stroll down Scale Street with Reidsville Chamber President Diane Sawyer.
It's a beautiful place.
And you'll hear all about how Reidsville believes its short drive to the casino in Danville puts it in the perfect spot to leverage both the tourists coming to gamble and the hundreds of people who will work there.
I actually think we're going to benefit from that. I think that people are going to want to come here to be just close enough to reach out and touch it. It's a place your bet on Reidsville for a reason.
That's Reidsville's marketing campaign.
What is the biggest challenge in economic development in a town of Reidsville's size and location?
Right now, our biggest challenge is inventory. Just from downtown, most of our buildings are full and there are not a lot of opportunities.
The opportunities
We've got some land over here that's ready to go.
are just down the road off Highway 29.
You can see in the distance there, there's a little bit of infrastructure already, project that's going on.
So when you're a city manager, is an area like this just a gold mine?
You know, they're not making more land, so you have to use the resources that you have. We think the people that get in early are going to do the best.
In the center of town is a sculpture by Greensboro artist Jim Gallucci named Budding Future. Exactly how Reidsville sees itself, though even that isn't without caveats.
Is that a difficult balance, keeping a small town feel when you grow?
It's a challenge, but I think that's what we're going to be known for.
Bob Buckley,
The Americana feel of a true small town.
Fox 8 News.
Now, the one downside for the state is that as a lottery money, 20 years ago, before the state started it.
Okay. Told you one more minute. So, what is stopping you? We just gave you 5 reasons to place your bet. What were they? Geographical location, analytical data, business opportunities, partnerships, and community. Bingo. So I'll leave you with a quote, and I'll encourage you. Don't wait to put your chips all in. Place your bet now, because remember this. Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Thank you for your time today, and I'm going to turn it over to our gracious moderator.
Summer, thank you so much. And I would be remiss if there's so many new folks in the room if we didn't quickly say our last session is available. Today's is also being videotaped and you can share, but we do have the link for that on the Chamber's YouTube playlist, and you can go back. And it was a really great learn how to place your bet on Reidsville with a panel of moderators who already had businesses. So for those of you that didn't get to participate in the first part of the series, please go back and watch that. A lot of great information. And our next series is going to be in September, where we're going to take this series and the previous session and put together a networking event and an expo event. So that will be in September. It will be in the evening, and the goal would be that we can take you and literally deliver you by the hand to whether it be a Randy, who you need the expertise, and he's here today, and you can talk to him today, or if it's somebody that we know that has a property and a vacancy, and they're willing to put something in there and what it's zoned for. So we are literally going to match make folks, and that is the goal of the third event. So very excited about that. Again, there will be more information. We will email all of you since you attended today. Thank you all so much to this wonderful group of speakers. I think we have had so much good information, and I hope that you will continue to be intentional and engage as you've done today, and engage these folks and all the ones that we've talked about. We've reached our question and answer portion. I would like to invite you as the audience to ask questions, and we have myself and all of the speakers and also Ruben and Randy available to answer any questions that you may have based on what you've heard today or in the previous series. So, turn it over to you all if anybody has any questions. Yes, ma'am, Sarah.
You must have
Hey,
a
Summer,
crystal ball.
Summer, before you go, I know when it's repeated on the video that they can't hear the questions. Can you repeat the question?
Yes.
So, Ms. Carter, I believe your question was, what is the city looking at, any consideration to looking at our ordinances to allow verbos or Airbnbs, correct? And as I was getting ready to tell her, she must have a crystal ball, because that is one thing that our mayor and city council are looking at, is when we look at lodging opportunities and business opportunities, are those some rules and regulations we need to relax or allow as a permitted use to capitalize on business opportunities? So yes, Ms. Carter, that is something that is on our radar and we are looking at. Thank you.
It's a wonderful question. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Atisha.
So the question was about affordable housing. I'm certainly not an expert on it, but I certainly have employees who are in the exact same situation that you're in. They literally want to move here and can't. Eden just helped one of our employees find a home, as a matter of fact. And I know Ms. McCullum is back in the back being quiet, as she likes to do, but she and I have been discussing affordable housing as well. And I know that there's property, for example, in Reidsville right now that a developer came and was getting ready to buy and put townhomes on. And for some reason, somebody talked them out of coming to Reidsville. And it was going to be reasonable townhomes that would have sold in a blink. I know that property is still available. It's going to take, the problem is this city can't build townhomes. They're not in the construction business. It's going to take somebody who wants to reach out to an Eden or a Miss McCullum or any of the other realtors to say, hey, I've got this plan. Is there property? I want to do this because I feel like they can make money here. And I can assure you that if you build affordable housing in Reidsville, it is going to sell in a blink, because I personally have 3 employees who would buy. And I know Eden gets asked all the time about it.
Yeah, so we get asked very, very So what Ms. McCollum said is she checked the inventory this morning at 9 o'clock, and there were 13 homes. In Reidsville, you said?
In the zip code.
In city proper.
And 6 within the city limits. So that tells you where we're at with housing. It's really hard for us. We want there to be more housing, and we're hoping that this series here will be a resource and people will see that need.
And I couldn't agree more. I think there, as we know, as we're growing, we're continuing to grow, this is where we need each of you. If you are interested, or if you know someone, like, there is a need, there is a business need that you could capitalize on with townhomes, affordable housing, apartments, single-family homes, because as our panelist and Ms. McCollum just stated, the inventory is so low. So if that's something you're interested in, please, see us at the city. We're willing to help you, whether that's going through zoning or seeing if a parcel is available. So please take this as an opportunity, because we do have low inventory, to invest and offer some additional housing options.
And I know Summer and I have talked about this before, but there's several factors that take place. One is, back many years ago when the market kind of crashed, there were a lot of builders that went belly up. They couldn't afford to build anymore, or they completely got out of the business. There were many years where homes weren't being built, so we're seeing the aftermath still today. And then also the housing, crisis back during COVID. Everybody sold, and now they're kind of sitting stagnant. So we hope that's going to change, and we hope this series, again, we hope it helps.
Thank you all. Yes?
So I believe I understood the question. Are there any incentives that the city or other resources would offer to encourage businesses to practice ethical measures? Is that correct?
I think as a business owner, I can speak to that, and I can't speak for the city's part of it, right? This is one of those events. I think that there is positive or negative peer pressure, but there's always peer pressure. As a business owner here, you have to be willing to engage. You have to be intentional. I think a great example of that is the guy who owns Domino's Pizza. Mm-hmm. He's here. He's not from here, but he is invested in this community and he makes a difference. Those are the people who thrive here. If you engage, if you do it right, if you don't put people at risk, if you treat your people right, you will thrive here. It'll almost happen by happenstance. There's a reason why Eden and I got asked here, and it's not because we're funny, although I think I'm hilarious, but that's a whole nother conversation. It's because we're trying to do it right. And even when you try to do it right, you stub your toes sometimes. But there's nothing the city can do for Tri-State Steel explicitly that's going to make me a good or bad business owner. But I will tell you that because we try really hard to do it right, when we need help, when we need to have our voice heard, they respond. A great example is I'm making eye contact right now with Dawn Sharaba, right? And she is a very influential member of our community through the foundation. When I reach out to Dawn, and she rolls her eyes because she knows it, I only reach out with an issue, right? She responds. She's like, I'm not home, but she responds. If you are somebody who's willing to go and do the proactive parts of your business and not just be a complainer, this community on every level, whether it's the city, whether it's RCC, whether it's Randy Hunt, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, whether it's Dawn Sharaba, whether it's the mayor, they always respond to me. It's not because I'm special. It's because, I like to think I am, but that's a whole other conversation. It's because we're trying to do it right, and they want to support the people who are doing it right. And I've never I've never been turned away. I don't always get my way. Oftentimes I don't, but I'm never turned away. And I think doing it the right way matters. And I think you have to do that with intentionality. And I think at some point it becomes a peer pressure issue. Hey, if you're going to do business in this community, we expect you to do it the right way.
And I think, thank you so much for that, Steve. And I mean, the city, we do have a lot of resources to where if you notice something as a resident, as a business owner, that you think a business or someone is doing that may be unethical, we do have protocols and measures in place that we can look at through community development. It may be through a state agency with the Better Business Bureau, or even through our police department. So please feel free to utilize us as a resource anytime.
I was going to say exactly the same thing that both of these folks have said. We are also in partnership with the BBB, and that is, they are members of our chamber, and we are a member of the BBB, and we work with that. But I think Steve's right about the positive piece. We're back to engagement and intentionality, and I think that it's catching, and that's what Team Reidsville is all about. So I think we had another question. Okay.
And one more thing, just to bring to everyone's attention, and thank you so much because I about forgot to mention this. So Governor Cooper did sign sports betting into law yesterday. So there could be possible more incentives there at the state level.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Was there another question? Is that what that was? Oh, okay.
I have a question probably directed towards RCC. I have a similar concern about human capital. It is hard to find the right staff. We've got workforce development, we've got training programs, we've got connections there. Where do you see businesses failing or their shortcomings when hiring staff? Where are we falling short in supporting them, giving them the jobs they want?
Sure. That's a great question.
So funny. I was going to say, it's so funny. We had a meeting yesterday about this very thing.
That's a really good question.
Came out of that. It is a really great question.
And I think there are a lot of factors that go into the answer to that question. And sometimes I think it comes down to not supporting the people that are being brought on board. You have to invest intentionally in your people. Just like you're investing intentionally in your business to keep people, Steve and I were just having a conversation about an individual that he has, and he is every day working to help boost that employee's communication skills and comfort in front of other business colleagues and things like that. So, we have seen, we hear from individuals coming back from business and industry to get additional training. Sometimes things like, they were bringing on new people at a higher rate than they're paying the people that have been there forever, so they don't value me. Why would I want to stay, right? So showing your people that you value them is a huge thing, I think.
So I want to jump in right there, if that's okay. Oh, yeah. So I think the question was, because it didn't get repeated, that where are businesses failing in trying to hire folks and find the right people, or falling short? Okay, so just for the people in the back that maybe didn't hear that, I'm going to point out to Dawn again, and something that the foundation and the chamber and the Rockingham County Partnership for Children have been trying desperately for years to get off the ground, the NC Family Forward program, where we talk a lot about, and we understand when you have an industry, right, and folks, you can't necessarily take somebody off of a line, but there are things that you can do to support your employees. Eden and Summer and I were having a conversation this morning about retention and about the hiring folks and trying to recruit, and how people are treating recruits better than they are treating the folks they're trying to retain. And so there's just a lot of that conversation happening right now. And that's what sort of our workforce group is working towards and been trying. And we have a survey out right now. I'm going to kick back to you for that.
And one more point to that I want to say is, I think we also have to think about marketing our opportunities differently, yes. Right? I think, we're to a point where, how a job, how an opportunity would have been marketed to me in my generation, or to you in your generation. Well, I mean, we're the same generation, so it's not really but anyway, to other generations, is different than how we're reaching people coming out of high school now, right? Or coming out of even community college now. So I think that's something to think about as well, how we're marketing. But yes, the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce has a workforce committee that I alluded to earlier. And one of the things that we are trying to do is, we're trying to determine who are our workforce partners in the community. Who is doing this work to help engage our workforce, to help grow our workforce? And are they focused on specific populations, or are they focused on specific areas of workforce development that are going to help people get into your place of employment? So we're working on that now. If you work in workforce development in our community, if you provide a service of any kind in that realm, reach out to one of us so we can get you that survey so we can know more about what you do. The other thing we're doing is we're getting ready to survey employers, and we want to find out, we're still kind of working on that survey,
Yes.
so I'm open to suggestions, but we want to find out what's important to you. What are you looking for that you're not getting in your employees? And then how as a community can we come together to help address that? And we also want to know a little bit more about, kind of what your general expectations are from your employees. So all of that is coming. All of that is an effort to try to influence and kind of spearhead leadership into building our workforce, bringing people in, helping you be successful as a business owner, in engaging and retaining your employees.
And I would say knowing what you're already doing and what you're doing right? Like, JR, I know the things that you're doing in your business. Steve, I know the things that you're doing in your business. So we also want to promote and elevate and educate other folks on good practices. So, and Dawn, I think you had something too.
I got two quick questions, mainly probably for Steve, but I did want to just acknowledge I have never locked the door on Steve. But one, the city has done an amazing job downtown, making a livable community livable downtown. So people, whether you're with walkers or strollers, can do that. Will that extend into our zoning development in regards to sidewalks, green spaces, livable places where people can stay and make a home? And two, we already have a child care crisis, so we are going to look to bring business here, residents here. What can we do as a collective unit to really look at how we provide a space where our child care centers are open? If you have an infant in this community, you do not have child care. And so how do we balance that and address growth at the same time?
Those are really good points, Dawn, and they're really central to Tri-State Steel. I can't hire a single female without childcare. I don't have childcare.
Basically, Steve's saying he's going to open a child care
That's what I
facility.
heard,
Go work for Steve.
I mean, on the list of, hey, things that are available for open, God, you don't want me to open a child care center. I promise you don't.
They'll be playing soccer.
They'll be playing soccer for sure, and riding horses. But one of the things that wasn't on that list of things that this community needs is child care centers. And if you want to be successful and immediately have customers, open a child care center. I will also tell you that every time I see Summer, every single time, I say, hey, when are we going to finish the Greenway project? And she's so tired of hearing it. But to your point, we have to continue to invest in the infrastructure to make this an appealing community. And we're doing it. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. We just opened this beautiful park, or getting ready to open this beautiful park downtown, and we're engaging in improving all of our parks. I know Haywood just told me we're going to redo some of the tennis courts coming up at JC Park, which is a big deal to my family. But when it comes to the workforce thing, Tri-State Steel, as much as it makes us uncomfortable, has realized that if we're going to succeed, we've got to go after the 20-year-olds. And we are doing it with abandon. We are actively pursuing the 20-year-olds. And we realized that about 4 years ago, and when we started engaging with the universities and finding we've got to keep our pipeline of opportunity in human capital dripping. And it had become dry, and we have 4 truck drivers who are within 3 years of retirement. Go find a truck driver. It's impossible, but we got to find them. Well, we have 2 20-year-olds now, 20-somethings, that we've just recently hired. We have 2 new salespeople who are both in their early 20s, 3 actually in their early 20s. We are actively engaging in building relationships with people who think I'm just straight up old. And they tell me I'm neat. And I'm like, no, I'm cool. And they're like, no, you're not cool at all. You're neat. But you have to be willing to go where you're uncomfortable and find that group of people who are employable. I don't know if y'all realize this, but the largest employable group of people in America right now are no longer going to be the baby boomers, it's the 20-somethings. My generation's tiny, your generation's tiny, the 20-somethings are the next big generation, and they have a work ethic. I hear all the time about how they don't. That is not true. They are willing to work. The early 20-somethings are dynamic, but they see the world from a really different place, and you have to be able to be willing to go there. So that's where we've had success.
And I think, tying in your question to Mr. Cecil's question, we work with a company who, for example, recognize that they do have single parents, and they recognize that sometimes they have childcare issues, right? My husband and I only have one child, and still sometimes it's really hard to figure out if he's sick, who's going to have to take off work and stay home with him, and how are we going to do this when we're in meetings and all over the place? So this company specifically set aside a space at their location where parents could come together and hire someone, for the day if they needed to, or hire someone long term, but all the parents who are going to use it are pitching in together, so it's not so much of a burden on one person or one family. And so they have a room where somebody is there to watch the kids, and the kids are safe, and even if it's you can't go to school for whatever reason, well, go ahead and bring them in, and somebody will be there to watch them and make sure they're getting hydrated and they're staying out of trouble and all of that. So I thought that was a really neat way that company understood, yes, there's a child care crisis, and we want people to come to work, so how are we going to keep them there? And that was their solution.
Well, and I hate to interrupt all of this really great conversation, but I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And even though it seems like you all are rooted to your seats and we could probably continue, I know people probably have appointments. I will say all of the folks will be around after. Don't forget that Randy and Ruben are here. And we do have the handouts at the front that you can get of the PowerPoint and the ones that they brought about the business guide and so on. Yes. Yes, that's where I'm at with that is the next thing. And then Summer, I'm going to kick to you. Do you have anything else to close?
Just wanted to tell you thank you for your time. I'd like to give a round of applause to our moderator who did a wonderful job. So thank you for today.